We are the learners and makers, marveling at churro plants, hearing frogs in the desert, Connor and Esther lawn bowling with their great-grandfather. We've done so many amazing things on our Disneyland in California camping adventure. We couldn't deny it any longer though. Home was calling. Since home was still 1,000 miles away, we might as well visit the Redwoods first. We were going home for the last time.
Whenever you think that California is nothing but big cities, massive crowds, and lots of traffic, I have one thing to tell you. One. Highway 1. I have rarely seen a more desolate, well, I don't know if desolate's quite right.
Yeah.
I've never seen an emptier, windier stretch of road but it's also stunning. I mean, what are we, like 1,000 feet above the ocean with another like 1,000 feet of cliff above us in some places, and you're just on this little ribbon of road.
It definitely makes us think about how amazing it, like building that.
Yeah, Highway 1, construction finished in 1937. When you imagine the people building this thing, like hanging on a cliff going, you know what? Hey, right about there on the cliff above the crashing sea and the, jagged rocks there, let's cut that road right there. It is quite a fun bit of driving, though it is very windy.
It is very windy.
Especially when towing.
We expected it to be kind of like the drive on the Oregon coast. But it is so much windier and you're so much higher. We loved Big Sur.
We did. I mean, it was an 11-hour drive. It was a big day. And getting in there too, just the moment we get out of the car in the campground, surrounded by woods, and we're all just...
It felt like we were going home.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how much the kids changed.
Oh my gosh.
Being
yes.
in the forest again, and they were just so happy. You learn so much about yourself when you travel and when you put yourself in situations that you might not be in normally at home. And so like being in the desert and being in different climates, being near the ocean, being whatever, just I feel like we've all learned things about what our preferences are, what we really, really enjoy. And it's not that we don't enjoy the desert. I don't want it to sound like we're like ragging on the desert all the time, because we're not. We really like it, but we like it for short periods of time, and then we want to be back in the forest.
Yeah. One of the really cool things camping in Big Sur is you are on the southern end of the range for coastal redwoods. These trees are giant. However, it had been so long since we'd been in the forest. It didn't even click with me, and I think I was a little dazed from 11 hours of driving. So in our campsite, this tree, I'm like, oh, that's a nifty tree. Maybe that's like a big western hemlock or something. I'll look at it more tomorrow when I'm not very tired after 11 hours of driving. So next day I'm looking at it. I've had a little coffee, good night's sleep. Oh yeah, wow, it's a big hit. That's not a hemlock, genius. That's a redwood. Yeah. There's a redwood in our campsite.
I think what's deceiving is like when you're that far south, the redwoods are not huge like they are in Redwoods National Park in the state park up there. They're smaller, but they're still big. I mean,
yeah.
the way that I kind of planned this portion of the trip was just basically, how far can we drive comfortably, and where does that put us? Like, and then I'd kind of look at this radius of area, because we basically had these 3 campgrounds that we stayed at in order to get back home. And for our next campground, I knew I wanted to get north of San Francisco, and we got to drive over the Golden Gate Bridge. That was super fun and really exciting.
That was a first time thing for all 4 of us.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
But we ended up at this kind of unknown California state park called Hendy Woods.
Now, I always love when we would talk to people about this, because it's such a great feeling when we're telling people where we're going, and even people who live in California are like, where?
Yeah, it's part of like the Anderson Valley, which we knew because of beer.
Anderson Valley Brewing.
Yeah, and so when we saw that, we were like, oh, okay. And there are a ton of wineries, little tiny wineries all over this valley. And then there's this small, it's not huge, state park, Hendy Woods, kind of in the middle of that. And it's this like little, the rest of it is not super forested, so it's just this like little preserved part of the coastal redwoods in this valley. It's a really magical spot. And there's some fantastic short hikes. Many of them are accessible, that we did and really got in and around the redwoods. It's hard to show the enormity of these trees. They are just huge, 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 huge. And you can't begin to even see the tops of them. And on top of that, they grow off of the roots of the others. So they kind of grow in these clumps, which make it look even bigger. They just incredible. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. In some ways, it felt easier to like be up close with the redwoods, and there really weren't very many people around and everything. So it felt really, I guess, intimate in the forest there, where we were really in the redwoods in this little piece.
Yeah. Of course, things come to an end. After Hendy Woods, we went north of Eureka to a little place called Sue-Meg, which some of you might have known previously as Patrick's Point. It was renamed to honor not 2 people named Sue and Meg. It was based on an indigenous word, which if I remember correctly means forever.
Yeah, it's from the Yurok.
Yurok. Mm-hmm. Incredible place. You can really feel the change from feeling a little less like what you might think of as California and a lot more what you might think of as Oregon. Really foggy mornings. You get some more beach going on. There's a beautiful stretch of beach just down a cliff from where we were camping. The trails, the forest, the replica village, indigenous village. This area had so much for us to romp around and explore and learn about. And then we were also just 20 minutes away from Redwoods National Park. So we also got our last national park, last junior ranger badges of the trip, and our up close and personal elk encounter.
Yeah. It was not a big deal. They were just a little closer than I thought they were.
It turns out that, like when you're on an airplane and the flight attendant talks about how, look around because the nearest exit may be behind you. Same thing applies with wildlife. It turns out the nearest elk might be behind you. So.
I'm glad you spotted that one, Esther.
Oh gosh, no kidding. Good eye, kids.
Just, be aware of all your surroundings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was lucky. The elk was just chilling and laying down. And it was pretty close behind me before Esther pointed it out. And then I got back in the car real quick. Sue-Meg felt really special because it was so close to the Redwoods. And just having that fog come in regularly. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were definitely damp after having been in the desert and been so dry for a while. We were
definitely resaturated.
Yeah, it's like we were rehydrating from all of that. So that when we got home, it wasn't going to be a big shock or anything. But we did get to go down to the beach, Agate Beach, right near where we were, but I could not make it down. Sometimes we try to go on adventures, and even though we've asked and we've tried to figure out if it would be okay or successful, I can't go along with. And that's how today is. We get down here and it's just too steep and wet, and I can't get my leg wet. So kids are going on. They're gonna head over to those tide pools over there and check it out, and bring me back lots of pictures.
One of the things that happens sometimes when you travel is a little validation. Our kids quite gleefully point out that our family is not exactly typical. And that's something Jody and I lean into quite a bit. But we know we can be a little different. And of course sometimes, we might wonder occasionally about the choices we make as we homeschool and travel more and raise our kids and hope we're doing right by them. Our last morning at Sue-Meg, we were packing up, we were about to hit the road to go home. These two women were walking by. One was, kind of like older middle age. One was a little more elderly, had a walking stick or cane. And they stopped and were chatting with us, and the woman with the cane says, some of our best family memories from when she, gesturing to the other woman, from when she was a girl, we were all in our pop-up camper. And they talked about the trips they would go on together as a family, and how even now, as a grown child, as women who are entering more of their elder years, they still commit to going camping, getting outside together. It was a really special exchange to have at the end of our trip, to think about what we're doing in the context of this moment. But what we've always hoped is that as we do these things with Connor and Astor, as we travel with them, take them places, show them more of the world, there'll be all these things that just become part of them that they want to keep going as they become adults. And hearing from someone where that's what's played out, that really wrapped up the trip on a beautiful moment. Hello from the sunny Northern California coast. Yeah, at least we did this once it got a little less foggy.
Yeah, it is actually sunny right now. We're just in the shade.
This is the warm part of the day.
Yeah. Well, so how are we feeling now that our trip is coming to close? On our last full day.
Man. There's always such a bittersweet quality to finishing any trip. I mean, I am so proud of our family that we've traveled for a month and a half. Most of that has been camping. We've dealt with some really challenging circumstances. We've had some of the most amazing experiences we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, you know, this time tomorrow, we're going to be
very
well,
close
just about.
to.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the way, at least.
So yeah, it's so many feelings of, I think it ultimately just comes down to how proud I am of us. Yeah. How about for you?
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things going on for me because I feel like part of this trip was like a little bit of a test.
Yeah.
A little bit of like, how does it work for us to be on the road more full time?
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's vastly different than what we are planning when we're doing our full time travel.
Yeah, since we won't be packing the camper.
We won't be packing the camper. We won't be camping. I mean,
That's a huge difference.
That is a huge difference.
Yeah.
And so there's elements of it that feel like, oh, this will be so different. And some of them are challenges. But the like being away from home and kind of being on the move and not having, just having less stuff,
Mm-hmm.
all feels like very good to me.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that.
I mean, we feel like I don't think there's anything else we would have brought.
No.
If anything, there's stuff we would have liked to have left home.
Yeah, with anything, we're making the not packing list for next time.
There's nothing we really would add in.
Yeah, but there's definitely stuff that we take away.
Would be like on a different trip, we would take our kayaks.
Yeah, for sure.
But
that's so much more seasonal. Dependent
exactly.
And trip dependent.
That just wasn't in this season.
Yeah.
It's been a really, really good 6 weeks.
Has had some of the most treasured memories that we're going to look back on with so much fondness.
Sitting here by the sea and the sun is shining. It's gorgeous. It's turning out to be a very magical last day of our trip.
Aster, tell us about this spot.
It's nice. You have like perfect view of the ocean. So pretty. You see like everything we saw.
And then we went home.
And then we went home.
Man.
It felt good as we were driving home. We realized that this was probably our last trip in our camper.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really hit us for a little while after we got back. We had friends asking about camping plans for the summer and all this. We're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna be selling the camper. We're selling camp gear. Like we're getting our
When
house
are we gonna go?
ready to rent out. We're making travel plans and arrangements. Like we're not going camping anymore in Bebop. This was our last hurrah.
Yeah, we didn't really realize that as we went on this trip.
Yeah.
And we thought maybe we would do some this summer, but when we realistically looked at it, we were like, how are we going to get our house ready and see our family and friends and everything before we leave for this really big trip and go camping. Like, you just can't do it all.
No.
And so it was a really fantastic final trip.
It was. I mean, when you're going out on something, 6 weeks on the road, so many different places, meeting new friends, seeing people you love. I mean, can't top that. All right. You know, you finish an adventure, but each new day still comes, and you do something amazing, and you then also think about what's next. We've done this incredible trip, 6 weeks, over 4,000 miles, ups and downs, highs, lows, literal, emotional, you name it. But now, like, we are, as we're recording this, we're in this big mode of, like, we're just getting ready. Like, if you'd seen me a little while ago, I was packing stuff up and putting it in our storage room in our house. We've been making other plans, working on other logistics. Camper has popped up right now because we're about to sell it.
We're getting ready to launch
into a really different part of our lives. Really different. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so cool!
Learners and Makers are going international.
That's right.
If you want to follow more of our everyday adventures, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Learners and Makers.
For more in-depth guides on family travel, accessible travel, and more, visit our website, learnersandmakers.com. And on YouTube, get that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, ding that bell,
Ding!
so you get notified when we drop our next video. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. So, you know, farewell, California. It has been really fun.
Yeah. We got to see a lot more of you than we anticipated. But
And
I
we-
think we're really glad we did.
And we got to understand how much of you there is to see.
No,
Dang!
we've only dipped a toe in after 6
Seriously.
weeks.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we will see you next time from home.